can work around that. And that is required for the postgraduate diploma in business administration. However, for our other postgraduate diplomas, the test is not a requirement, but you still need to have, for the postgraduate diploma in banking and investment management and public administration, you need to have a recognized bachelor's degree and equivalent, exactly the same as for the other one. And again, be proficient in English, because that is the language of instruction and assessment. So you do not have to do the assessment test for those to get into the postgraduate qualifications here. For all of our qualifications, you need, and especially nowadays, reliable broadband internet access. It's really required and an imperative. You need to have a computer and be fairly internet savvy and literate, because you do much of your work online in terms of research. You access your course material online, and your lectures and discussion forums and course pages you would need to go online. So you need to make sure that you are in have a setup where you have connection as often as possible, especially in the light of if we're having power issues. So you need to make a plan that you've got backup plans there. So that was for the postgraduate qualifications that we have, and we clustered those together. Moving on to the MBA. Now, if you have one of our postgraduate qualifications from us, some of them have an overlap and you have exemptions onto the MBA. But as a start, you need to have a recognized honors degree or postgraduate diploma or equivalent thereof. So that means your NQF level, National Qualifications Framework, exiting level needs to be on level 8, because the MBA is on level 9. Again, you need to be proficient in English, and here you need to also do an assessment for us. It's the same assessment that we do on the postgraduate diploma in business administration. So if you do that assessment for the postgrad for us, for the PGDBA, all these acronyms, I apologize, you don't need to redo it when you want to move on to the MBA. However, if you've done the other postgrads and not done an assessment test, because it's not required, then you would be required to do this assessment. And there you see, again, for your MBA, where your strengths are, and then we can work and support you with that. For the MBA, again, you need to have a minimum of 4 years relevant work experience. And the reason that we want that is because everything is based in a working environment. What you learn then is applied directly to your work environment, a work environment. Your classmates and your peers are working, so they will get input from you, you will get input from them, and that's where the learning happens. So if you've never worked, it's incredibly difficult to actually apply everything that you are learning, and that is a requirement in these degrees. We need a copy of your CV, and this is an AMBER requirement for us for accreditation, and we do have a specific template that we eventually require you to put that in, and it just tells us what you've been doing, where you're doing, so that we know where our students are coming from, what sectors, and then in the lectures, where possible, those sectors are tapped into. So if it's the mining sector or banking sector, there's different, obviously, operations and ways of working in those kind of sectors and challenges and issues there. So that needs to come through in the facilitation and the discussions and participation. We also need to know why you would like to do the MBA. What is motivating you to do the MBA? And that gives us a sense of whether it's intrinsic or external motivation. Why are you going to do this grueling qualification that is worth it, definitely, and what support structures you may have. And we'll chat to our alumni a little bit later to see what they say about all of this. And lastly, we need to interview you to discuss your essay, why you want to do it, your support structures, as I said, your approach to how you're going to do this, making sure that you understand the platforms that we use, that you'll be able to access those platforms, and that you really understand what is the requirements from your side to make you successful, and what we can do to support you to make sure that you are successful on your learning journey. And that for us is the ultimate, to ensure that you are successful, that you come in as one person and you change as you work through and you learn things and you can apply things, and you'll find that you change all sorts of aspects in terms of your outlook and your mindsets and your knowledge and your confidence, which is what we want you to do. And again, there, as I've said, reliable broadband access is required in order to assist you and support you there. So now I'm going to hand over to our guru in banking and investment management. David Venter has been involved in the sector for a long time, and he's also been, so he's worked in those sectors. He has been in academia now for a while as well, and straddles both. He does a lot of consulting in the banking and investment areas, and he's got lots of networks there. So he's going to give you a snapshot and really as to what the value of these qualifications are, and why it's really a good idea to be thinking about enrolling in these. So David, I'm going to keep going now, and over to you.
Thanks so much, Jane. So yes, I've got the opportunity now for a couple of minutes just to chat to you guys about the PGD and banking and the PGD and investment management. I'm going to start with the PGD and banking. As Jane mentioned earlier, this is a wonderful, it's a wonderful work-ready qualification, which has been put together by industry, by those in industry and academia in collaboration, to ensure that the content that is covered in this PGD and banking covers the remit of what needs to be the knowledge base that one needs to have for the world of work to be work ready today, as well as being future forward looking, with certain parts of the curriculum which equip our graduates to be ready to look towards the future of banking going forward. So in many ways we're giving the skills required for today and looking at how we can position ourselves, how our graduates can position themselves for the work in future years to come. So I think it's I want to just point out a few, as Jane said, we don't want to work through all the modules that are covered on our courses. However, I just want to highlight some of the things that are covered. So in the PGD and banking, you'll be covering things like bank risk management, looking at international bank management, looking at mergers and acquisitions, wholesale versus retail banking, looking at various crises over the last few years, understanding why those crises happened, how one could ensure that, looking at how to ensure these don't happen again, what are the lessons learned from those crises. So, and also looking at, things around bank regulation, such as Basel, et cetera, Basel, et cetera. So those are the kind of topics and modules which are covered, as well as looking forward to looking at the financial services technology of the future, looking at how the banking industry could potentially change and adapt. So those are some of the modules which are covered, modules and content which is covered in our program. And what is particularly exciting about the PGD and banking, which is likewise with the PGD and investment management, is that there are a number of a lot of our faculty and also our adjunct faculty come from the world of banking at the highest levels, as well as academia at the highest levels. So from a point of view of you've got people lecturing on, you've got faculty lecturing on these modules and working with you, and these are the experts in the field. So that is a huge plus, in that we do have people from industry as well as academia to ensure that you have both a practical understanding of the industry as well as a more in-depth people can provide a more in-depth understanding of what is important for the banker of the future. I'm trying to think if there was any other notes I wanted to make about the PGD in banking. I think that was it. So basically, I mean, to sum up the PGD in banking is it's future focused with content which ensures that you are ready to lead in the world of banking today, while being able to look forward and see the future. So, and see how the future will unfold. So I think that's really sums up the PGD in banking. Sorry, Jane, if you can move on to the next slide there. So with a postgraduate diploma in investment management, the postgraduate diploma in investment management is what I've been very closely involved with over the years, particularly because I come from that side of the industry. And with this program has been developed in such a way where, if you're not aware, in our School of Commerce at Milpark, we do have Bachelor of Commerce degrees majoring in both banking and investment management, and one of the majors which actually combines banking and investments. But then we have separate majors, which are also offered in Milpark. So already at undergrad level, we have presented quite a bit of the content at a level which gives one a very solid introductory idea of the two industries, and probably it's a little bit higher than introductory level, to be honest. However, when you look at the PGD in investment management, it basically takes a lot of the concepts from our Bachelor of Commerce and translates that into a more what's the word? It deepens one's knowledge, of the investment management industry and investment management as a whole. So throughout this program, some of the modules you'll cover, this isn't exhaustive, but some of the modules you'll cover is you'll look at equities and equity investments and stock markets. You look at fixed income investing and the bond market, how one trades bond, how one prices bonds, how one trades bonds. What are the various? You go into a lot more in-depth understanding of the bond market and the equities market. We also look at we go more in depth in things like derivatives. We have a derivatives module, alternative investments and derivatives module, and portfolio management module, which looks at topics surrounding that, as well as looking at the ethics around investments, which also talks to the business school's ethos. And that's obviously those aren't all the modules, but if one is entering this program, one needs to have a bachelor's degree, and often if one has, you don't necessarily have to have a BCom in investments or a BCom in banking. That's not the case. So long as you've got a Bachelor of Commerce where we can see, or equivalent, where we can see that you have covered a lot of the key building areas around finance, around a solid understanding of accounting, of economics, of those finance related content. One with that kind of a BCom background, a bachelor's background, one should be able to keep up with this program. So from that point of view, it's a lot of our past graduates and students have come onto our program not necessarily from the investment management industry. A lot of people quite like to diversify their skill set and say, well, I'm working in X industry, and I would like to have a more practical and applied understanding of how the stock market works, how one goes about pricing instruments, how one looks at portfolio management as a whole, and how, for instance, things like accounting and financial reporting ties in with making investment decisions. So that's really the way that our modules have been put together. And something else which is also worth noting here is that, again, here on this program, we have faculty and adjunct faculty from the industry. This has all been developed by people within the industry. These programs have all been developed by experts in the industry, and it provides a wonderful platform for students to get a really good in-depth knowledge of investments, and to know that you have the correct understanding and deep knowledge